Hello, it's Abby. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be looking at mystery series that I recommend. So mysteries is probably one of my favorite genres of all time. There are other genres that I kind of cycle in and out of, but I'm always up for a good mystery. These books are either all in a series as like one contained, read it from beginning to end, or just have the same reoccurring characters. So let's dive in. We're going to start with my YA recommendations. My first recommendation is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and this follows Pippa Fitzmahoby, and she, for a school project, is trying to figure out what happened to this girl that went missing and this boy who was dating that girl and has been accused of murdering her and then killing himself, and she thinks that this couldn't possibly have been what happened. There are 3 books in the series itself, although the first book has like a contained mystery, so does the second one and the third one. And then there's a prequel, which is like a novella and is a murder mystery party that she also solves and kind of gives us why she wants to be like a citizen sleuth. And this is just a really fun series. I did feel like things dipped in the second book a little bit, but I really enjoyed the first one, the last one, and even the novella. It's just a good mix of citizen sleuth and a kind of multimedia thing where we have emails and interviews and texts and different types of storytelling throughout the story. The audiobooks I highly recommend. You get to hear each person she is talking with and have those different voices for the different characters, and that's really cool. The next suggestion I have is any of the mysteries by Karen McManus, with the exception of, I didn't really like The Cousins. You might like it though. But Two Can Keep a Secret is about twins who have a family member that they need to go stay with, and then in the town there's been these disappearances and murders of like the homecoming queen, and they need to figure out what's happening because the sister of the twins is one of the people who might be targeted. And then the One of Us is Lying series, which now has a 3rd book, which I haven't read yet. But One of Us is Lying and One of Us is Next are great unreliable narrator stories where we're following a group of kids and we don't know what has happened, and they only have the pieces of the story that they are involved with, and they just need to, like, it's told kind of like in, not diary entries, but like dated entries by the different people, and we need to figure out ourselves who we suspect, if people are telling the truth. All of them have secrets. Their secrets just range in severity and importance to the story, but a really fun, quick read. Moving out of the YA sphere, we have Finlay Donovan series. There's 3 out so far. Finlay Donovan is a mother who is newly divorced, and she is a writer of romance. But one day in a Panera Bread, she is mistaken for a assassin because she's talking with her like agent about how she wants to kill off one of her characters because she's just sick of her, and is misconstrued, and she is given money to take out this other person. And as the story continues, this one does connect from story to story. You do have resolution to some things between, but it is a series that you'd want to keep reading. It's a good mix of just funny, relatable mother kid problems, ex problems. There is some romance involved in it as well, as she runs into a hot lawyer and then a hot cop, and just chaos ensues from there. She also has a really good partner in crime, best friend, so we have this like female friendship happening as well. It's just a really fun read, and just a good change of pace between more serious reads. Another one that's a little bit hard to categorize is the Dial A for Aunties series. This is part rom-com, part mystery, part just multi-generational family story. There are 2 out currently and a 3rd coming out soon. But Dial A for Aunties follows a young woman who's set up on a blind date and ends up killing her blind date because he makes advances towards her while they're driving. Completely accidental, but it gets them into all sorts of mischief as her aunties try to help her get out of this situation in the midst of throwing a wedding. And then again, the second one builds off the first one, so you do need to read the first one first. But it had me laughing at parts, it had me rooting for her and the love interest that comes in later. And just like cringing with embarrassment for her with some of the stuff that her family gets up to in the name of love for her. But just a really cute series. Another series that I really enjoy that is a cozy mystery, takes place after World War I, is the Heathcliff Lennox series. I think there are like 9 out right now, but I've thoroughly enjoyed each and every one of them. I've listened to them all on audiobook because it has the narrator with his British accent, and it's just a really nice blast to the past. We do have some serious things that come up, but overall the problems that they're having are not problems of today. So coming back from World War I, he's trying to keep his estate from going into foreclosure because he just doesn't have the money that he used to have, things like that, but just not the kind of problems that we have currently. And he is just a really interesting narrator because he works with an ex-chief of Scotland Yard, and they try to solve all these murders and different things that they just happen into. Like, they're never trying to set out to solve a murder until like very near the end of the ones I've read so far. It's usually that they just happen to go to this wedding or happen to go to a Christmas dinner, those type of things, and all sorts of bad luck follows them. My next suggestion, these books have been out for a long time but have just recently started to be translated. And the first one, the Hanjin murders, I actually have a video coming up soon where I tried to solve this because it is a really short mystery but with a lot of moving pieces. But all of these have in common a detective. So Detective Kazuki Kindayashi is the combining thing between the books, but they otherwise don't really need to be read in any order. I am currently reading the second one, and I think there are 5 that are translated over as of right now, but this is very popular in Japan and has just started being translated into English, and I am really enjoying the different kind of part Sherlock Holmes, part, I'm not remembering his name, but the detective on TV that's like really like bumbling and has like is underestimated by everyone but is actually very brilliant. Those kind of things come together as he's trying to solve these mysteries. My next suggestion is the Marlow Murder Club, which follows a group of women. It starts out with Judith Potts, who's 77 years old, and she is very set in her ways. Her husband died a long time ago. She likes to swim in the river near her house naked, and one time while she's there, she hears a gunshot, and then she needs to figure out what happened to her neighbor. She joins together with Bex, who is the wife of the vicar, and Susie, who's kind of this curmudgeonly older lady whose kind of time has passed by her, and she is now a dog walker, and the 3 of them make a very interesting group of detectives, but they solve the murder, and I'm in the middle of reading the second one. My next suggestion is the Thursday Murder Mystery series. This follows a group of pensioners at a nursing home or an assisted living home where they are kind of bored and don't really know what to do with their lives. One of them used to be a spy, one of them used to be a nurse, one of them is still a psychiatrist, one of them doesn't really do anything in particular, but he has a very famous son, and they solve mysteries together. This is definitely one of those series where it has multiple layers to it, in that at the kind of forefront is this irony of these older people who nobody suspects that they could possibly be like seeing these things or convincing people to give them information they shouldn't give them or any of those things, but instead they're actually like very good at solving crime together, like it's a puzzle that they're doing. But it also is very sad. Like I cried during this last one, because we are dealing with older people. We do face a lot of death, and not just death of the people who are murdered. That's the other thing too, they're not all murder mysteries. Sometimes it involves drugs or stolen artifacts, things like that. But it is a really enjoyable series, and I'm going to continue to read it even if it sometimes makes me sad. And then my last suggestion is Agatha Christie. I know that she has some stories which haven't aged very well, or can be problematic in some ways, but overall her ability to create characters, to have these twists, to have like the feeling that you could solve the mystery if you paid close attention enough. Phenomenal at creating these very complex mysteries. And some of my favorites are Murder on the Orient Express, Death on the Nile, and Then There Was None. And even though she has passed, we have people who are still writing in her style. So she has three very prevalent, her most prevalent series are the Poirot series, the Miss Marple series, and the Tommy and Tuppence series. So Poirot is a retired detective, but he is still detecting for people. Miss Marple is just an old lady who lives in a small village, and that helps her kind of figure out people, like pay attention to the little things. And Tommy and Tuppence were both spies during World War I, and she uses these three main detectives to solve the different stories. So each one kind of has its own flavor. Then she also has ones like And Then There Were None, where we don't have a detective involved at all. It is just a mystery. But anyway, those are my favorite mystery series. If you have favorite series, please put them in the comments below. I would love to look at them. I'm always looking for a good whodunit mystery. So let me know what you're reading.